Hi, I'm Ella, back for Board Game Geek, and I'm here with Pat Marino from the OP, and we have a ton of exciting games that we're going to talk about. But first, we're going to talk about Batman Rising, which is what you see on the table right here. Hi, Pat.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Doing pretty well.
Yes. So now we have, well, I'm excited to talk about this because I'm a big fan of Batman. I'm a DC girl and I get hate for it, but DC all the way.
There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And this one is really based in the comics more so than
Mm,
when we do Marvel and things like that. It's more film based.
mm,
And this for this game, we wanted to take a departure from the main Batman that like everybody knows, right? And go
mm,
into this special area of the comics with the Batman Who Laughs, who is sort of a dark universe Batman mix,
mhm,
half Batman, half Joker, and he's really becoming an iconic supervillain
mhm.
because he has all the cunning and strategy of Batman and all of the total madness of the Joker put together. And you can see the sculpt there. I was just telling some folks our 3D manager Darren Donahue is a big Batman fan, and you can tell he put
It's
a lot of
amazing.
love into sculpting this piece and getting it all the
Mm,
details just right with the chains and the different pieces there.
that's awesome. How do you decide on what IPs you come out with? Because you've been coming out with really great ones. So,
Yeah, it's a fun process. We have a prelim planning team, and we're always assessing what's coming up on the horizon, which IPs are growing in popularity, where do we think the
mm,
trends are going to be, and often we're having to do that and project a few years out because by the time we can design,
mm,
develop, test the game, get the art approved, get it through production, what's hot
right.
today might not be hot 18 months or 2 years from now. So we're always trying to be ahead of that curve a little bit and find something that's different that other game companies aren't doing and to really give it a unique feel. And so that was part of why we chose this one is we see the uptrend. We see that DC is investing more energy into the characters from this story arc.
Mm,
And there's not a lot of stuff for it yet. We see there's one other game coming on the market, but we wanted to really get out there with that sculpted piece and give fans something different.
that's cool. That's cool. And so that's sculpted pieces in the game? Am I right?
Yep.
Oh
Yeah.
my
So in all of
goodness.
our Rising games, there's always a central figure. So we had Thanos Rising, we
Mhm.
had Death Eaters Rising with the Voldemort piece. We did the
Mhm,
Darth Vader one for Darkseid Rising,
mhm,
and so now we've got Batman Who Laughs as the centerpiece here. And just like our other Rising
mhm,
games, this is a co-op game. This one does support solo play, so it's 1 to 4 players, and each player is going to choose a starting hero. You've got 4 choices, which are Green
mhm.
Lantern, Wonder Woman, of course, Batman, and Hawkgirl, who are all sort of central
Awesome.
characters in this story arc. And then we've got a whole host of DC characters that are in this. So even though it is a Batman game, what's great about this
Mhm,
story arc is that you really tap into a lot of different DC heroes. So you've got Superman in there. We've even got Sandman from the Neil Gaiman comics is in this game as well. Um, you've got all the Bat family, of course, but you've got a lot of the other DC heroes as well. And just
that's
like the
amazing.
other Rising games, you're going to be rolling dice to try to match
Mhm,
symbols on hero cards to recruit them and add them to your team, or to match
mhm.
the symbols on the villain cards to try to defeat them. What makes this one a little bit different from our other Rising games is that track you see at the top of the screen there. And that's
Yes.
the Dark Knights track. So, in addition to our supervillain, there are 6 other um, Dark Universe Batman like characters who are also a mix of Batman and another superhero. So, you've got
Mhm.
the Drowned, who is a cross between Batman and um, and Aquaman. Um, you've got a mix of Flash and Batman. So you're seeing all these different characters there at the top of the
Right.
screen. And what happens is, as the villain dice are rolled, that track at the top is going to start filling up. And as it passes each character card, those cards are going to be fed onto the top of the draw pile. So you know
Mm,
that they're coming. You know that this big threat is there. So, if that villain card goes on top of the deck and you add another character to your team, it's guaranteed it's going to be replaced with a pretty serious threat. Some of these villains have really nasty powers that can quickly damage other heroes or throw the game for the
mhm.
team. So you have to be attentive to your timing and ready to take them down. But what makes it extra challenging is you have to go through them all in order to win the game, because the only way to win
Oh,
is to
really?
defeat the Batman who laughs at the end, and he's the final card on the track. So in every
Right.
game, you're guaranteed to encounter all of those villains.
That's amazing. So we saw the Devastator. Cool.
Yep.
Yeah. Do you want to do like a little bit of a turn, or
Yeah,
it's
we can do that. If you want to
yeah?
pick a character you want to play as there, if you have a favorite.
Oh, I'll go. Yeah, we can do. Who's that character over there? Sorry, it's
So
a
that's Batman, and so
Batman,
he's
and
the
then we have.
represents the
Well,
purple
we can play
team,
with Batman.
and
Yes.
yep, there we go. So you can see on the card on the right hand side, he's got 6 health as represented by the chain, and then the most important thing is his starting dice pool is 3 red dice and 1 purple.
Right.
So in order to play, there is a reference on the back of the team card that kind of gives you the play-by-play of what to do in turn order. So the first step is to place your deployment token, and this means you're going to choose one of those 3 zones on the green board there, 1, 2, or 3 to go to, and that's going to determine which cards you can interact with. So each zone has 3 cards, and usually the tip I give people is most of the starting characters will benefit from having another character of that color on their team. So that's usually a good place to start, because if Batman has another purple hero on his team, he's going to be able to use more dice. The one exception with Batman is if he gets the Joker on his team, he actually gets 2 extra dice. So the Batman-Joker pair in this game is pretty important, because it's important in the storyline.
Right. And we have Robin. I can imagine that's Robin, right? Sorry, because
Yes, and so
I'm
that's
seeing
a
it on the screen.
great place to
Yeah,
start is for Batman to get Robin on his team.
which makes
And
sense.
so once you've selected your zone, the next step is to roll the villain dice. So those are the 2 black dice that are on the right side of the screen there. And those are going to determine where the Batman who laughs is facing, and also how many counters are added to that track. So the 1 there means we're going to add 1 yellow counter to the Dark Knight's track at the top. And then the red die is showing an L for left. So that means the Batman who laughs, who is facing zone 1 right now, is going to rotate 1 section to the left. So he's going to end up in that zone that you've chosen. So it's his left. And that's always it's good with the top down. Sometimes at the table, people are like, which, you do the hand motion,
left?
right?
So it's Batman's left. Okay.
Yeah. And then what he does is he attacks everyone who's in that zone, unless it's a villain, in which case he'll activate their powers. So it looks like we have 3 heroes in that zone, so he'll add a red damage counter to each of them. And then the added penalty is you're there as well, so that means Batman is also in that location. So he and any other characters that are on your team would take that damage as well. So he's going to get 1 down there. Perfect. And now you're going to take your starting dice, which are the 3 red and the purple that have been pulled aside. And you would check if you had other characters on your team, if you had any abilities that gave you more dice and built up this pool.
Right.
And now this works where you can keep re-rolling your dice as long as you either use 1 or discard 1. And you can assign to as many cards as you want. And so you're just trying to match all of the symbols on one of these hero cards to recruit it. So you can maybe take a look at Robin if he's the character you most want to recruit, and see what symbols he needs, and then try to match your dice to it.
Right. Okay.
So we see we've got a bat symbol there, and then because a die was assigned, the rest can be re-rolled.
So you can just roll and roll. So it's like Yahtzee. Yes, cool.
Perfect. So there wasn't another one to match Robin, so a discard.
And discard
then
1. Yeah.
There we go. So that's going to do what we need. And so then what happens is if you complete all the symbols, if it was a villain, you would add a damage to the villain. And if all the damage is full on a villain, you get to remove them from play. When you fill all the symbols on a hero, you take any damage off of that hero because you've recruited them. So that 1 damage on Robin will heal. And then you'll add him to your team, which will give you new abilities that you can use throughout the game.
That's awesome. And you get stronger because I guess, you're adding more people to your team.
So,
cool.
Right. It's a bit of engine building as you combine the different powers. So sometimes, for example, Batman is going to get to roll extra dice if he has other purple heroes on his team. So that's a good reason to add Robin Robin, I believe, gets to draw extra bonus tokens, which are the tokens at the right. Yeah, so you can spend a bat symbol on his card to draw an extra bonus token, and those tokens let you do things like remove damage from heroes, or they can be extra dice symbols you can spend in addition to your dice to help you recruit more heroes or damage villains. And sometimes they even give you extra dice you can roll on your turn. So those tokens can be pretty powerful, and those are shared by all players. So once a player gets one, any player can use it on their turn. That's part of the cooperative nature of the game.
Awesome. And in connection to this, we have Batman Rising. We also have Plankton Rising. So I would think that it would be pretty similar, except it's, SpongeBob. So would you want to look at that now in connection to this?
Yeah, let's jump over there and take a look at that one.
I'm excited. All of us are excited for. We're excited for this. We're excited for that. Everything. So we're moving on to SpongeBob.
Funny doing these simultaneously, right? Because Batman is especially this story arc is very, very dark, right? And we've got this frightening box and all of these aspects to it. And then, we'd switch over and be like, okay, now we're going to play test Plankton. And it was sort of a like, oh, okay, now we can be goofy and have this kind of cartoony art and things like that and play around a little bit with the characters.
A channel on TV.
Yeah. And it was funny to see the different fandoms that they operate because, a lot of the stuff we make, we have tons of in-house fans who are, have thoughts and ideas and contribute to the design of these games and which characters to include. And even though, we're all adults, there were the Batman fans, and then there were the SpongeBob fans who were like, I still watch SpongeBob every day, and you got to put this character in and things like that. So that was a really fun aspect of the project, is to see which episodes they remembered and which quotes and things like that. So
awesome.
Yeah. So
but what particularly about this IP that you loved?
Oh, about Batman?
Yeah.
For me, it was, I kind of grew up with Batman animated series and some of the motion picture Batman movies that came out around that era. And so that was like my impression of Batman. And to see this very dark spin on it, I think was really interesting and different, and to be able to do Batman, but really be doing all of DC at the same time. I think was a real highlight of this project, because sometimes when we do Batman IP, you're limited to sort of the Bat family and the Bat villains. And when we did Batman Talisman, the Supervillains edition, that was all about that great list of Batman villains. And then this one is like all new villains that are specific to the story arc. So it was fun to tell a different Batman story and to have a different source of art that hasn't been done in other Batman games. And it was also fun describing the story in-house to people who don't know it as well, because they're sort of like, wait, there's a dark universe in Batman? Like, who are all these characters? It's like, oh, the comics go really, really deep. And so I'm hoping that like some super fans will really love this game. And then some folks who kind of came at Batman the way I did, through like the big movies and the cartoons and things, will be introduced to this like totally different aspect of DC Comics and things.
Right, because there has been a lot of evolution in Batman, so a lot of people still know just stuff from the movie. That's why we always have like an introduction to Batman, like what happened to him, and I think people are happy to move on to new stories. So this is pretty awesome.
Yeah, so this one is coming out very soon in October. It's the same MSRP as our other Rising games, so it's a $49.99 MSRP. It's going to be available in all hobby channels and places you normally would buy strategy games. So everywhere you've seen our other Rising titles, you should be able to find this one as well. We always encourage to stop by the local game store and see if you can grab a copy there and support local.